All right, everyone. Welcome once again to the Faces of Business. I am your host, Damon Pistolka, and I am so excited for our guest today because we have none other than Greg Mischio here today. Greg, multiple time offender. I think his second, at least on this show, multiple times on the Stop Being the Best Kept Secret. Greg, thanks for being here today.
Oh, thank you, Damon. Always a pleasure. Fun to be back chatting with you.
Yes. Well, Greg, you've had Winbound marketing now for a little while.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your career, how you kind of got to where you're going, and then we're going to talk today a bit about building a better executive brand and how and why it matters even more today.
Yeah. So Winbound, we last year celebrated our 10th anniversary. So we're a digital marketing agency. My background is as a writer. I actually started out doing copywriting, ad copywriting. This is back, Damon, you will recall these days. This was before the internet. There was a time in the course of human events, we did not have the internet, and we used things like magazine ads and direct mail pieces and brochures to annoy people with advertising. So I was doing that, did that for many years. Internet boom comes on. People need content marketing. So we start writing a lot of content because I'm a writer. They start to learn about SEO, start to learn about paid advertising and digital, and realize that there's a lot of smaller companies. We like to work with small marketing departments, I should say, who need a staff. They need specialists to understand all this digital stuff, all the analytics, all the techie stuff. So started to do Winbound, and that's what we did, right? Content, distributed content. And we've been doing that for 10 years, and it's been a nice group of clients, these small marketing departments. We've got people who've been working with us for 6 to 10 years. It's been a great ride. So that's kind of where it brought me up to this point so far.
Yeah. So now we're talking about building a better executive brand and why it matters more today. Let's talk about that a little bit. What really are some of the reasons why executives should consider their personal brand more today than they have in the past?
Yeah. So it kind of, I'll tell you how we got to this point, because we've been always doing a lot of marketing on the behalf of the companies. And, there's so much coming out now with AI where content is becoming commodity, and it's much easier to produce content these days. And it started to make us think like, okay, are we as content creators going to be replaced, or what kind of content do we still need people for?
Yeah.
And, I would like to think of it this way. There's kind of this digital content engineer role that has evolved, where what you want, and you can guide the AI to help you deliver it. So here's what I want, this blah, blah, blah. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to edit things out. I would say that is the bulk of what I see a lot of marketing content coming to, a lot of website content, things like that. On the other end of it, there's this thought leadership content. And thought leadership content, to me, it's a combination of multiple things. It's a lot of your personal experience. Okay. It's a lot of how you're doing things differently. We had somebody on our show today, Denise Brousseau, who was talking about defining thought leadership as basically, how are you doing something differently than other people? So it's your story. It's about how you're doing something different. It's really personal to you. And then it's got to be unique, and it has to have connections that that you can really make with your content that are very unique to your situation. So that is more like 75% original writer, maybe 25% use AI to come in, help me clean it up, make suggestions on the copy editing. Is this thought not clear? Things like that. So long story short, this thought leadership content, I think, is going to really stand out more and more as content becomes commodity. So we thought, okay, yeah, thought leadership content, that sounds great. Then we started to research CEOs and thought leaders, and I could not believe how much more of an impact a CEO has when they publish than anybody else in the company or the company's marketing. And it's like, I've got some stats on my thing here. 92% of professionals say they are more likely to trust a company whose senior executives are using social media. 70% of decision makers say they're very likely to think more positively about organizations that consistently produce high quality thought leadership. There's just, and that it's like 3 times more effective if your CEO publishes the content than somebody in the company. So seeing all this data then on how much more effective it is and the need for thought leadership. And then we're like, look, we're really good at that kind of content. We're great ghostwriters, storytellers. We really excel at, getting with a CEO or a visionary who tends to be, and you might back me up on this, Damon, a little scattered in their thoughts, a little ADHD, and they've got great ideas. They're usually coming from everywhere. Billion ideas, can't get it. And the biggest thing they have is like, focusing, channeling, getting their story told. And that's where somebody like a writer, a ghostwriter can come in, provide framework, channel that, and get it out there. So that's where we're like, okay, going to need more thought leadership content to really stand out. Your CEO, your executive better be out there now more than ever, because 1, to combat the AI, 2, look at us, just look at politics. We expect our leaders to be out there now. We expect our leaders to be on social. The data is showing we want our CEOs to do that too. So the young CEOs get this. They are out there. They are maintaining those high value appearances and profiles. So we kind of put all that stuff together, and we're like, that's where we want to go with our content, with our company.
That's awesome. It's really interesting because when I was just doing this yesterday, I was looking at several companies. Some of these are multi-$100 million companies, down smaller all the way up through that. And you talk about thought leadership, and you can tell the companies, and I didn't look at this. Well, I did look at the executives in these companies, and they're not being thought leaders. But all I can tell you is when you look at a LinkedIn profile, company profile, and you go, okay, you can go from the one LinkedIn company profile where they're sharing maybe some sales stuff, maybe some job postings. That's all they ever do. You look at another LinkedIn profile that's kind of in between, I like to say, and they may show a little bit of community activism or whatever I'm trying to say, involvement, different things like that, something about their employees, job stuff, and sales stuff. And then you look at the ones that do all of that with the thought leadership, and it's like you go from, I might have 1,000 followers on the first one if I'm lucky, because people, are looking for jobs on LinkedIn.
Sure.
I look at the middle one and I might have 5,000 followers. And I look at the one on the far right that are aggressive, it might be 100,000.
Wow.
I saw several examples of that this week doing the research on some companies.
Wow.
And these are in companies. Now, there's the big thing is these are not tech companies. These are old, run-of-the-mill, been here since the 1800s kind of industry. And the difference, I was just blown away by that, how the thought leadership and the whole combination together of really showing the part of the community, the people, and that thought leadership made such a difference.
Oh, that, thank you for that. You gave me a nice research project to go and do and share with the world. That's fantastic. And I think like, I like what you're talking about. Like, these are some older companies. You don't need to be on the cutting edge.
Nope.
And I'm telling you, you don't need to be like thought leader. I think that term might scare some people, thought leadership. Like, you don't need to change the world with this. We're not talking about major industry disruption. Excuse me. What are you doing that's different? And how is it impacting your customers, your employees, and your industry?
Yeah.
That's all we're talking about.
Putting the same things together differently. I mean, these are in industries that have had the same kind of stuff happening like for many, many decades. And it is just about how are we doing things a little different? How, customer stories of solving problems and those kind of things it was so dramatic, the change when you start to do that, to really establish your company and your executives in those companies as people that are out there trying to do better for the people they help.
Let me add in one more element to that, Damon. So when I'm kind of coming up with this hypothesis now, and I'm calling it the new CEO is the connected executive officer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ooh.
You're talking about one connection I think is important is the digital connection. So you've got those companies that are out there making that digital connection. And yes, maybe they are showing in their thought leadership what they're doing differently. And that's all fantastic. I also think that you need an emotional connection.
Yes.
And what I mean by that, and again, I don't want to scare people off. Excuse me, I've got some allergies. I don't want to scare people off like with the thought leadership term. But when I say an emotional connection, I want you to show you're a human being in your human side. So just tell me a personal story. Tell me if you are doing something different with your company, for example. Give me a story of how it happened at your company. Who was affected on the factory floor? How did it change what they were doing? How did it make you feel? Show us that you are a human being and share some of your insights and feelings about these things. Show that you have some empathy for the world. And I think by getting that personal element and, like maybe share a little bit as you're posting on LinkedIn, share something from your life and tie it in with some of those business stories.
Yeah.
I've seen you post so much on your walks on the beach, and it's just like, gives me another perspective of you. And it's so great. The walks you take with your dog. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you're a fuller person then, you're someone I know, and people will only do business with people they know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
And I start to like you more, just because we're becoming friends now, even in this strange digital way, but, it just matters. And I feel like there's this kind of symbiotic relationship. Like, yeah, you can come on with digital, but you also got to come on with personal. So you can get on with digital, but if you don't come on personally, that digital isn't going to really get to the level it could be. And on the same respect, if you come on personally, you have a great personality, you're a really good connector with people, but you don't go on digital at all, your story, you can't get that reach. So I feel like you got to almost have those two elements to it. And
Yeah.
and share some of those human qualities that we all have.
Yes. And I think, you talk about ghostwriting, you talk about CEOs, you talk about brands. One of the things that I think that is so cool about the CEOs that take the time to, find a ghostwriter, write a book about their life, career, whatever it is they really want to, is that when we see these CEOs, and it doesn't matter who it is, could be semi-successful, crazy successful, whatever, we see those companies, we see them in that point in their life. And that the thing that I love about learning more about their whole journey is that you realize that they went through some tough stuff. They went
Mhm.
some really hard stuff during that process. And
Yes.
there are things that they probably had to do that makes your, stomach turn from a financial standpoint, from we got to go all in on this and it might mean the end of us kind of standpoint. And those kind of things really let people get to know the person behind that, and that they do have the feelings that we all have. They do have the struggles that we all have.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's a great example of showing that human element is tell your personal stories, tell your struggles, tell what your company went through to get to this point.
Yeah.
I think when you show some of your failures too, that you went through to build it along the way. I mean, to me, that's like, holy cow, this guy ran through a wall. This woman showed so much perseverance and
Yeah.
grit. I I trust that person.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to let me down. Like,
Yeah.
they worked too hard to build this thing just to, vanish or, put out a crappy product because
Yeah.
they get it.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. And when we talk about building a brand, an executive brand, and and why it matters, I really think that, you know, a lot of CEOs, if they want to do that, or executives, if they want to do that, that part is so powerful in the connection with others. So powerful in the connections, because if they see them at the where they're at today, successful, maybe everybody thinks, woo, they got the life of whatever. But if they see that struggle, if they see that what they, the hurdles they had to overcome, the long days, the stress, the whatever else it was, that really helps others to connect with them, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you want to, we I think we look at our leaders as royalty, and that's why, we look at them as royalty, we look at them as superheroes, and we want them to transcend being a human being. But I think deep down we know that they're all not. And the fact that they can show us that they're good people and that they care about other people. I think, like you said, it just adds to that trust element.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say like, okay, yeah, this guy is for real and he's shown it to me and he's got the stories to prove it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. So as you're working with people on this thought leadership content, what are some of the things that they're seeing about, I mean, could be from just what are some of the things that they're realizing once they start to unleash some of this?
In terms of results or
No,
things like
I
that.
mean, the realization, because it has to be. So if I was going to write a book about my life,
Mhm.
the process of going back through and thinking through the stages in your life and the things we've gone through, I would believe that I would come up with things I forgot, B I did a lot more than I ever thought I did,
Yeah.
or realize there are things that happened that I don't even realize today that affected me today. But I just got to think that that's kind of an eye-opening event.
Absolutely. I mean, my dad is writing his memoir right now, and he's remembering things as he goes. So, yeah, I mean, I think as you're looking back on your company's history, for example, to find those stories and documenting them, there's something really powerful about that. And then, because you've got it all in your head, and that's
Mhm.
great. But once you get that down on paper, which can then be, also lead to a video script, once it's documented, once it's recorded, it takes on this added element of, it's got this gravitas, it's got this kind of legacy feel to it, and it's so much more impressive. And I think it's the kind of stuff that builds legends, because now you're reading it, you're seeing it, it's registering in your head, and the story is being immortalized.
Yeah.
And I think the practice of doing this, and we can talk about kind of this process we're using, like in terms of writing a book. It helps you put all these smaller stories together to build this really compelling story about your company. And I think the beauty of it is for you as an owner to look back and reflect and be amazed. It's amazing for your employees, perspective and your current to have so much pride in being a part of this.
Yeah.
And your prospective employees to see that they're part of something that's really big and special. We were talking to somebody who said he applied for this job, he got a job, and they gave him a book. It was his first week. We were like 2-week orientation, and they're like, read this book. It wasn't a big read. Read this book. We're going to talk about it by the end of orientation. So it was a 2-week thing. He said that, and I'll tell you this, Damon, it wasn't even a book about the company. It was like a book that was based on the company's values. But he said that when he read that book, he knew he was part of something bigger and something special. And it's something about just having those values in the company documented, I think, that just takes you up to the next level. So if you're an owner and you can document the company's history and then what your values are and what you stand for and what you believe in, I mean, it builds a following. I mean, look, there's a couple really popular books out there called the Bible and, the Quran. I mean, like, people follow these texts pretty religiously.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just to show you the power. And I don't mean to be sacrilegious in any way about referencing those, but it's these stories that can really motivate people.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to say thanks, Emmanuel, for dropping the comment in here today. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
Great to be here.
Pretty good
to be here.
Great to be here. Yep. Yep. But I think that is the real power in executives taking the time to explain more about themselves, their journey, and that. And let's move into the next thing. Now, you're talking about helping executives if they would be interested in writing a book about their journey. And a lot of executives, I think, are interested, but don't. Yeah, it's like, no way am I going to do that.
Yeah,
it's a daunting task if you're standing here alone, sitting in your office going, hey, I want to write a book about my journey.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the process of making that not so tough.
Okay. So going back to when we decided to land on the thought leadership approach and the thought leadership content, I've ghostwritten a couple books now. We've been ghostwriting blog posts for all of Winbound's existence, and then prior to that, we've written so much ghostwritten content. And I look at everybody out there, and I go on LinkedIn, you'll see people putting out these really nice text posts, nice blocks of text. You'll see people putting out blog posts, and it's gone after the post. It's off into the digisphere and whatever. And it's like, why are we putting all this stuff out and churning all this out, and then it's just gone? What we thought about is, why not come up with a framework for the content that we're producing and create it with the end in mind. So what if we were going to take all this content that you're churning out on a regular basis, and we use it to, in the end, over a period of a year, 2 years, bring it all together and produce a book out of it. You're basically building your executive brand, right? You're doing all the things to meet people digitally, emotionally, you're online. Well, why not? Why just lose it all after you're done? I mean, like, why not then take it to the next level, bring it all into a book, and then that is the ultimate authority builder. And now with a book, not only have you codified everything you said over the last 2 years, you've got that impressive piece of that you can handle, you can hand off to new prospects, employee culture, use it however you want. You also have something now that distinguishes you, first of all, from all the other CEOs that you're competing against. Okay? Like, who you really, this guy is, you're a good CEO, but this dude literally wrote the book on the topic. Okay. He's got some ideas. You can also use that to reach out and get new opportunities in terms of podcast interviews, speaking opportunities, and build your personal brand to the next level. And let me tell you why this is important. And you know this, Damon, but let me tell the listeners why this is so important from a company marketing perspective, especially with AEO today. And that's answer engine optimization. The conventional search engine optimization is based a lot on keywords and content. You publish your content, you've got keywords in it, you've got relevance in there with your content. And we currently can still rank for like some of the questions people are asking. Like, how do I build my executive brand? I might be able to produce a content blog post on that and rank for it. You had a great post today about they ask, you answer. So answering questions that people put up there, and we could, with search engine optimization, companies could rank for content that's written answering those questions. Well, the big paradigm shift is now with ChatGPT, Perplexity, these learned language models that answer questions. You can go in, the customer journeys taking place largely within the ChatGPT, within the learned language model. So you'll get on there, you'll start asking all these questions and things like that. Well, so now those questions you ask are getting answered within the ChatGPT. Now, the learned language model, the ChatGPT, they're still going to pull the answers from the internet. It's not like they're the gene, they're pulling answers from reputable sources. Who are they going to use? How are they going to determine the most reputable source? Well, they're going to look for the experts. They're going to look for the people who are widely regarded as the experts in the industry. Well, how do you get to be recognized as an expert in the industry? Well, it helps to have written a book on the topic and then get interviewed by multiple people who link, on their podcasts, link back to your website and say, yeah, we interviewed this guy on this topic. He's the expert. And these learned language models are going to see all these inbound links, and they're going to say, when they are answering your question in your queries on ChatGPT and helping you, refining your questions and your queries to help you get to the answer, they're going to pull from the most reputable sites who have the most links. So this helps you from a personal branding, in terms of personal branding, because you're going to be recognized as the authority. You're going to get more interviews. You are going to become much more visible. I mean, look what today's political leaders are doing. They're getting on podcasts. They're talking to people directly. You want to get those interviews. If you've got a book, that's going to land you so many more interviews. And then all those inbound links from those interviews, when people push that stuff out, it's going to help your marketing team. Whenever we talk to marketing team about having the CEO write a book, they do cartwheels. They're like, please, this would be amazing for us. And I think that with this process, Damon, what we're trying to do is make it so much easier and streamlined and take advantage of all the work you're doing. So you don't have to come at the end of the day and have that reaction, which you did at the beginning, where you're like, oh my God, I got to write this whole thing. No, it's more like you're going to look back and go, hey man, I already wrote the book. Let's just put this thing together.
Yes.
That's the whole idea with our Bookbound service.
Yeah. And I think that's and you call the service Bookbound.
Bookbound. Yep.
Okay. All right. Very good. Because I think it's a great way, because you think about this. If you're thinking about your book and you go, okay, I want to talk about these X subjects, you could actually begin writing blog posts around them. You could be writing a lot of content over the course of a year, like you said, and then go, okay, now let's see how we can mash it together, edit it, get it into a book.
Right. And I mean, if you have a framework established and you know where you're going and you can call out some of those topics ahead of time, it gives you direction what to write about. And, that's part of it. And the other part of it is you can also do some things through social to help you build a better book that actually gets you more exposure. So right now, like, for example, we launched our LinkedIn Live series. Well, we're talking to thought leaders. It's called Thought Leaders Live. Pretty incredible, original, wacky title, right? But we're talking to thought leaders, but we're also interviewing them for the book, So we're doing our research as we're building brand on LinkedIn, getting the thought leaders to come on, interview them, getting in front of their audience, but then getting so many great insights. So we had you and Kurt on last week, and you had just a great a bit of a rant about why executives, how valuable it is for them to get on social media. Well, I'm using that quote in the book. I mean, come on, so it's a great way to create content collaboratively, which is really, if you look at any content marketing specialist will tell you, any kind of collaborative content performs better than somebody just getting on. That's why you have guests on your show, because you get in front of their networks and things like that. So,
and we can learn together. We can talk about different things. I mean, and we talked about this last week. It's like the amount of things that you can learn from those guests, and really on those podcast shows, the podcasters themselves have talked to a lot of people. The people on the show that are invited onto the show have a lot of knowledge. And the combination of the two is just like 1 + 1 = 3, because it just gets ideas flowing. And the topics if you get good topics, the ideas can flow so well around it. The person that was asked to be on the show or wanted to be on the show gains from it. The podcaster gains from it, and everybody that listens gains from it.
Well, and let me build on that, because I think you brought up a really good point. And I think that this would help assuage some of those fears that somebody have, like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I might have a bit of imposter syndrome. Like, who am I to say I'm the expert on this? Well, when you're doing this and you're writing a book, when you're starting to interview other people, and like you said, you're bringing in things they know, and now you're talking about them, you're adding to your own knowledge in the process. So where you're starting out and where you're going to end up, you're going to be so much smarter. You're going to teach yourself many lessons along the way. And as you bring this together, and, it's kind of like somebody was talking about this the other day, about the beauty of podcasting and LinkedIn Live. Just by association, people are going to think that you are so much smarter because you've got all these super smart people on there. But it's true. It's just going to elevate you and your intellect and your knowledge on a particular topic.
It does.
I think there's just a very organic process when you're writing a book too, that in the course of this, I mean, we come into this with a framework of like, okay, here are the things we're going to touch on, but man, you uncover some stuff that's going to take you in new directions. And it's a pretty cool, pretty thrilling journey, if I might say, use that word.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. So what are you excited about for the rest of the year? I mean, you guys have you're launching this now. You've got your new live stream. What's really got you going in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, I think just putting all these elements of it together, and then, you know, we've got a couple people very interested. We're looking forward to talking with more people and getting this out in front of people, and then just start executing on this for more and more people, because I think it's going to be a really fun ride and a really great differentiator for marketing teams. That, you know, I think the one thing about it that I like, and of course I'm biased, but there's a short-term and a long-term benefit for this, that I think people, we are all running so fast with everything we do to take advantage of the AI technology and the new things. There's always been that in marketing, to chase the shiny objects. And I think we just do so many things short term, that here's something that's going to give you tons of short-term impact over and over again. And then all of a sudden you're going to have just a long-term hammer to drop on people. And that's what I'm most excited about, because I have held in my hands completed manuscripts, and there's nothing quite like the thrill of that. It's a pretty cool thing.
Oh, wow. It sure sounds like it. It sure sounds like it. That's awesome. Well, Greg, if someone wants to talk to you about ghostwriting their book, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah. And so
more content. Because you guys still do the ghostwriting for content and other stuff too. I don't want to.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we still do digital marketing and digital marketing services. This Bookbound is, like we said, you're going to be on social media. You're going to be building your brand, your digital brand, but it's all going to come together with a book. We also, if you just want to write a memoir, we do ghostwriting, but you can just find me on LinkedIn. That's a good place to start. Or winbound.com is our website.
All right. All right. Well, thanks for being here today, Greg. It's always a pleasure to just be able to talk with someone like yourself that really understands the content generation. I mean, I think back to 4 or 5 years ago, listening to some of your stuff. I still think about the stuff that you're teaching people. And I encourage people, if you got into this and you're wondering about Greg, go back, look at Winbound, look at some of their stuff, get on their blog, look at the things. Because I'll tell you, Greg has forgotten more stuff than I know about marketing. And it is a wonderful thing to do that. I just appreciate you so much, my friend. And thanks for being here today.
Man, you're way too kind, Damon. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
All right. Well, everyone, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate you. Emmanuel for dropping the comment, but I can see we got a bunch more other visitors that are not commenting. Thank you for being here as well. And if you came in late, go ahead and go back to the beginning, because you can learn a lot about what Greg is talking about and how executives can build those brands and why it's important to do that. For now, we're out. Greg, hang out and we'll finish offline.
All right. Thanks.